How's it going, Spartan fans? I'm Brodie alongside Brad Hawley, and we're happy to bring you another installment of the Spartan Corner. Last week, Brad and myself talked about the Lady Spartans, their possible run through the sectional tournament, try to break down their seedings. Well, the brackets have been released in that time frame. We know where they're at. The names are next to the seedings. We can dive headfirst into all that action tonight. We're also going to talk about the boys, their possible projection, their seedings. But before we get into that, to the naked eye at least, Brad, when you look at overall the bracket, the Lady Spartans, that is, you've got to like their road through the sectional.
I think they dodged a huge bullet. You know, you're getting Oak Hill on the other side, which would be the regional final, the Elite Eight game. But then we were worried about Zane Trace, Crooksville,
Minford.
and Minford. Minford's beaten Alexander by 13 points. Got past. They're all on that side.
They're on the opposite side
yeah,
of the Lady Spartans.
They're all going to beat up on each other. They're all going to beat up on each other. And so while they're beating up on each other to the Elite Eight, Alexander's got a little bit nicer road to get
Right, they don't have to face any of those monsters that we pointed out last week until regional final action, which is way down the road. Huge bullet dodge, I think, for the Lady Spartans. They got to like where they're at in their two spot.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you look at the bracket that we have, we've got Alexander playing either the winner of Lucasville Valley and Nelsonville York.
Right, this will be their first game. Before we dive into all the regional final talk, they got to take care of business early on.
Exactly.
And Nelsonville was a team that we talked about being a sleeper team, a team that Alexander or another power team could probably play early on. Sure enough, here they are sitting in a play-in game against Lucasville Valley. The winner takes on Alexander.
Yeah, I think Nelsonville's going to take care of Lucasville Valley.
Think so?
Yeah, I really like this team. I like how they're young. I think they'll get hot. And I like them to beat Lucasville Valley, take on Alexander at Wellston on February 19th.
Right.
And I think it's going to be a little bit of the middle of what's happened in both games.
There's been two totally opposite games so far between those two teams.
First game at Nelsonville York, Alexander wins by 2 on a last-minute three-pointer.
Right. Kayla hit a huge shot to bail them out of a close game.
Yeah, they escaped. And then the next game, Nelsonville York, they ran into a
buzzsaw from the Lady Spartans on senior night,
just
romped them by 27.
The seniors, the blood was pumping. They were excited. So I think it's going to be a little bit in the middle.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Alexander struggled a little bit on the road at Nelsonville, crushed him at home. Now on a neutral floor, probably something in the middle. I like where your head's at there.
Yeah. And, after that game, they got Ironton and Fairfield, winner of that game. How are you liking that game?
It's two teams that Alexander should be able to handle, whoever comes out of that one. Alexander, this is one of those rounds where you think they should be able to handle them, but just like last year, we thought kind of the same thing, and it took an overtime win. Now, they did win, and I know the whole mantra in the tournament is survive and advance. It doesn't matter if you win pretty or ugly, it's about moving on.
Get to that next
so
round.
I think that Ironton and Fairland, two teams that at the end of the day, if the cream rises, Alexander should be able to move on.
Yeah.
But at tournament time, one bad game and you're gone, but I like Alexander moving on.
You got to like the 4 seniors. You don't think the 4 seniors are going to, fall apart in
They're not going to lose focus. Guthrie's not going to let them.
No, exactly. So, and then if you look for the district finals, they're probably going to play Sardinia Eastern. Again, they got to take care of business just like Alexander. Right. But they are the 1 seed. They are favored big time.
Throughout, yeah. They'll be favored until that district final, probably against Alexander. That's kind of a toss-up. Those are two very good teams. What I think Alexander has something going for them is the fact that'll be a game played at the Convo, which is a bit of a home away from home for the Lady Spartans. They're not going to be rattled by going into a big venue.
Oh yeah, AD Josh Merkel from Alexander. He's
a bright man. He knows what he's doing over there.
He knows what he's doing. I think he has this hoops invitational that they have every year, specifically for this purpose. So when they do get to the Convo, their eyes don't get big, the bright lights don't scare them with the 13,000-seat arena, and they're just calm down and play basketball. Right.
They know how to play there. They've already played there a few times this year. They know the experience from last year's tournament run. But the Sardinia team doesn't have that luxury. They haven't played in the Convo, so that might be a bit of an advantage for the Lady Spartans.
That might be the turning point.
Okay. Yeah. So we talked last week. We liked their road through the sectional. I think I'm still feeling pretty confident about it. How about you?
I'm feeling even better than before for him to get to the Elite Eight.
Right, because we thought before Minford would be that team in the way, and Minford was a team that handled Alexander by 13 earlier in the year. They don't got to worry about them at all. This Eastern team from Sardinia, a bit of a mystery team because they're not really familiar with each other. It's not a TVC team or someone around the area. But Alexander, as long as they play their ball, I like them. I like them in that game.
Play that ball pressure defense. get into their heads, maybe have them worry about that big arena, and I think Alexander will pull through.
Okay, so nothing's really changed from our front as far as the Lady Spartans are concerned. We still like their chances through the sectionals, and then we'll break down if they make it that point even further, and maybe they'll go against a Menford and Oak Hill, a Crooksville, a Zane Trace. We'll see,
One of
but
those four.
we like them getting through the sectionals.
Yes.
Okay, so we've covered the girls' side of it. Now let's switch pages here. Let's talk about boys. Their sectional bracket gets released this Sunday night. But right now we like to make predictions. We like to try and think it out.
Love.
Let's see if we can nail it. Let's see if we can figure out who the top 5 teams are as far as the boys sectional.
All right, well then let's go with our top 5 teams. We've got Fairland, Wellston, Meigs, Southeastern, and Alexander. Not in that order, but that's who we think the top 5 teams are going
And
to
the
be.
reason why it's so big to be a top 5 team in the boys sectional is because all it takes is one win and you're in the convo. Something huge to play for.
Yeah, yes. So we got, if you look at Fairland right here, you see their record on the left, their sectional record on the right.
Right, now let's just say real quick, these records are not for the faint of heart, ladies and gentlemen. These records are right. These are, even though they're under 500, these are the top 5 teams in the conference,
Yes.
or in this sectional.
Yes.
The record on the right-hand side of your screen, these are the records versus teams in the sectional, which, Brad, that record's going to play a big deal as far as seedings are concerned.
Yeah, because if you look, there's a big cluster of 7-9, 7-10 teams, and I would even throw in Wellston, that's 10-6, because their sectional record's 1-4, and they've kind of had a
And that's going to play a big role, because the way the whole system works is the coaches vote where the team should be seated. And Wellston, you won't think is going to have a lot of respect from the coaches, considering they're only 1-4 against the teams from the sectional.
Yeah, so let's try to go 1 through 5. We're going to tag team this. Last time we did this, we did it pretty good, but let's tag team this one together.
Okay.
And let's see if we can figure this out.
Okay.
Let's go. Who are we going 1?
I think the 1 is it's far and away Fairland. They've put together the best resume overall. They're 12-5, which is far and away the best record, and they have a solid 3-1 record against teams in the sectional. That's a big deal. Far and away number 1 seed. 2 through 5 though is where it's really you could go any way on this. I think Wellston's 10-6 record isn't going to hold up as a 2 seed.
I think it's deceiving. Yeah, I think it's deceiving. I think the 1-4 is more important. And Coach Gabriel is going to be chirping at everybody. How can you put them higher than them?
Right.
Beat them by 27 points
twice. So
yeah.
Alexander, you would think, has got to be ranked ahead of Wellston, considering they've handled them 2 different times,
And
like
Meigs
you said.
is beating them too. And Meigs is 5-2.
And Meigs, they're also a tough team to figure. They sprinted out of the gates this year to a great record. A lot of those 5 wins from that right-hand column record, that 5-2 record, a lot of those wins came earlier in the year. Meanwhile, those 2 losses have come later in the year. So they're a team that's kind of going downhill at the wrong time.
Yeah, and Meigs and Alexander, they've split the home and homes. So that's the tough. I think we're going to go 2-3 there.
Between Alexander and Meigs?
Yeah.
I think so. Meigs right now, I know they're going in downhill. I think that might affect their seeding, but right now, they are a top 5 team, and I do like them in that 2-3 spot with Alexander. I think it's interchangeable. They're 1-1 against each other this year. Each one took care of business on the road, which was a little funny. Yeah. But so I think Meigs and Alexander, you can kind of flip them 2-3, and then Wellston, Southeastern, a bit of a toss-up. I kind of like Wellston there. I think they're
the 10-6. Then the 10-6 record, I think, has to come into play. Yeah,
right?
Has to come into play because Southeastern, they only played 4 games in the sectional. It's a team that we're not too familiar with.
Right, they're not a team, from around this, this area, TVC country.
Yeah.
And there's those 4 games were against teams also kind of outside. Yeah. So Southeastern's a tough team to judge. I think Wellston's 10-6 record at the end of the day
gets them to 4.
Gets them in that top 5 for sure. I don't think the 1-4 record costs them a top line or a 2 or a 3, but they're a 4 or 5.
And then we'll go Southeastern 5. So here's the big question. 2 or 3 seed, Alexander?
Between them and Meigs, I think I might go with Alexander on that one because that's where my heart lies.
You're going with
and
Alexander,
their 5-3 record I think is impressive because it's come later in the year, and I think they're coming in at the right.
Lately?
I think that's a big. I think that's a big deal. I think that's what's going to cost Meigs is because Alexander beat him in the most recent head-to-head matchup.
I like it. I'm going to go Meigs.
Okay.
I know Alexander Faithful won't like me, but I'm going Meigs the 2 seed because
still got to respect the 5-2.
Yeah, you got to respect the 5-2. It's the whole body of work. They always say that. So I'll go Meigs 2 and Alexander 3. But I could see either way.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a.
And then Southeastern and Wellston, kind of that 4-5.
Yeah, 4-5. I'm going Wellston then Southeastern.
Okay, I like that. I'm right with you there. So we talked about where Alexander's at. If they're in that top 5 spot, it'll just take 1 win to get to the convo. Do you like them getting that win?
Oh yeah, I like them getting that win. We won't know who it's going to be until the draws come out. But yeah, I really do.
That might be just like the girls might be a Nelsonville York
Yeah,
type team,
yeah.
a team that they're familiar with,
Yeah.
and a team they just got done beating, on senior night for their guys. So it might be a team like that. But I like Alexander as well,
I
getting
like
through
getting
that
to
first
that
one.
convo, and then we'll start making more predictions after the draws come out, make it a little easier on us to figure out who's
Yeah, I like
going
the
where
sound
and
of
who's
that.
playing
Yeah,
who.
you can guarantee that once those brackets do get released, that me and Brad will be here breaking down all the Spartans' road to the sectionals and further. But for tonight, want to stop it there,
Yeah, let's stop it right there. I mean, then we get to go do it next week and the week after and the week after.
and we'll just keep on doing
going.
this, and hopefully both teams will make deep runs. And we can do this quite
that'd
often.
be great. That'd be
All
great.
right, well that's all for tonight. For this edition of the Spartan Corner, for Brad Hawley, I'm Blake Brodie. See ya.
See ya.